So this morning, Monday, October 7th, time's flying. We're going to go over the next 2 weeks of the syllabus, and I'll explain why I'm doing a 2-weeker instead of a normal every Monday I just do 1 week. But really what I want to do over the next 2 weeks is focus on a lot of code, and the amount of theory is going to be, lighter over the next 2 weeks. And I'll kind of talk about what theory there will be. Nonetheless, we got a Lab 0303, which I have pulled up, kind of talk about what Lab 0303 is. But we got 1 day here, 2 lab days, 3 lab days for that lab. So call that 12 hours of in-person lab time. Before we move on to 0304. Now, this is just kind of a rough start date for 0304. Already, I'm seeing a little bit of dispersion in where everyone's at. I got some grading to do to really get a sense of where everyone's at. But as of last week, people were finishing with the labs, and some other people, they were done with 02, and some people were at the beginning of 01. And so there was a good dispersion kind of already happening. So this is rough, right? So we'll call this a rough start of 04. But kind of what's due this week, really we got one assignment due this week, okay? No written test again. I'm kind of putting pause on the written test while we focus on just doing the code for a little bit. The written test will come back, probably after the next 2 weeks is what I'm looking at. One assignment that's due on Sunday, and that is Lab 0303. Call it 3 lab days. And then let's get a start on 0304 this week. 0304, 0304, Thursday, Friday. These are all in person. So all in person, no remote days this week. Next week, we've got a Lab 0304 due, as well as a hands-on test due. So next week, there's 2 assignments, 0304. This is the 3rd lab day, the 4th lab day, and the 5th lab day for 0304. Then you could see 2 remote days for the hands-on test number 3. And so that's the next 2 weeks. The reason I'm doing a 2-weeker is you guys are going to have a substitute teacher coming around the corner. Again, Mr. Kaufman will be doing some substitute work. And the reason is not super critical, but I do have some family events, some weddings out of town, if you will. I say that, but I will be out of town. Mr. Kaufman will be doing substitute teaching starting Thursday of this week through next week. So it is a little bit of time that I will be out. Mr. Kaufman will be substitute teaching. He will be available just like he was last time on the Discord channel for one-on-one help. He's taught this class before. Let's pull up Mr. Kaufman's information here on Discord. If I go to the chat. Okay, so here's kind of where we're at. While I'm out, here's Mr. Kaufman. He will be in the voice channel with his camera turned on and available for questions. I ask that you guys go to him for help while I'm out. He should be your first, line of resource, and only if he cannot solve something for you. I still will be responding to messages while I'm out, but he should be able to answer your questions over that time frame. And again, it's just a couple labs and a hands-on test. All right, now what is the hands-on test? The hands-on test will be doing a full stack CRUD application on a thing, on Mongo. You'll be making a database. You'll be tying in your Express application into your database, and even not to give you the whole grading rubric. But most of the test, the hands-on test, will be over setting up Express routes and performing CRUD operations on a Mongo entity, on a collection in Mongo. And there will be a very small percentage of the points on actually building that React front end. If you followed along my recommendation, all right, I made a tail runner video where I actually built a React front end, and some of you coded along with that. That's going to be about 5 points on the hands-on test. So you can get an A, you can get a 95% A without even touching React, okay? But as an incentive to get you guys start learning React now, I'm going to incentivize you guys to do that by following along those tutorial videos that I put out. So again, you can get an A on this next hands-on test, and everything that you've done in lab is going to prepare you for that. But as a little incentive to kind of push the boundaries on React a little bit there. There will be 5 points on that hands-on test. Anyways, any questions over the next 2 weeks? Okay, looking at 0303, kind of glancing at 0303, what you're going to see is we're going to start doing CRUD and everything else on these other collections that are what I would say maybe like, I don't know if secondary is the right word, but really what are the main entities that we're working with? The main entities in our final project are users and bugs. And these other entities kind of depend on, well, you have to have a bug in order to have a comment. Okay, so in order to make a comment, that comment belongs on a bug. So you kind of have to create the bugs and make a bug first, and then you can create a new comment on that bug. Okay, so I wanted to do a little code along, a little helper video to kind of show you guys the different approaches to start working with, again, what I would call these secondary collections, because there are different approaches. There's different ways that you can solve this problem. And so in addition to just kind of talking about what's going on today and letting you guys work on labs, I'm going to show you some different coding techniques that you could use one of these techniques to solve. Okay, so that's what I'm going to transition into this morning. Okay, it's not going to be a full-blown lecture. It'll probably take 20 or 30 minutes. It's not like a PowerPoint or anything like that. It's just a coding demo. Okay, so we'll go ahead and transition into that now. Any other questions or no questions on the syllabus?
Actually, I do want a question.
Yeah.
So this week is just going to be working on 03?
If you look at the syllabus, let's review what the syllabus says. 0303. 0303. 0303. 3 days working on 03 and 2 days working on 04. All right.
When's 04 due? Sunday?
04 is due the following week Sunday, along with the next hands-on test. So this week we have one assignment due, which is 0303. We have 3 days. Technically, I mean, if you took like a fourth day, doesn't really matter. I'm just ballparking this. Okay?